There is a kind of silence in life that does not feel peaceful, a silence that unsettles, disturbs, provokes questions you never wanted to ask, and forces you into corners of the soul you never intended to enter. It is the silence of a prayer that lingers unanswered, a longing that stretches beyond your endurance, a miracle that refuses to reveal itself, a promise that feels too far away, a hope that grows thin under the pressure of time. It is the silence that comes when God delays, and in that delay, something shifts. Faith stops being easy, belief stops being automatic, the heart stops being steady, the mind stops being quiet. Doubt creeps in with its familiar whisper. Did God hear you? Did God forget you? Did you misunderstand him? Is he even there? Delay does not merely test your patience. Delay tests the architecture of your entire faith, because when God delays, it forces a question to the surface that no peaceful season can ever bring out. Do you still believe? Believe even when nothing changes. Believe even when time runs thin. Believe even when silence grows louder. Believe even when the outcome looks impossible. Believe even when God seems hidden behind the fog of mystery. This question is not small. This question is seismic, because what you believe about God in his silence reveals what you truly believe about him at all. We are conditioned for speed. God moves in eternity. Modern life has trained the human soul to expect immediacy. We live in a world of instant responses, instant gratification, instant access, instant results, instant communication, instant validation. But God has never been a God of the immediate. He is the God of the infinite. He does not operate by clocks or calendars. He is not constrained by deadlines or human urgency. He is not pressured by your expectations or timelines. We measure time by minutes. God measures time by purpose, and purpose cannot be rushed. It is not that God is slow, it is that God is eternal. But to a human heart aching for breakthrough, waiting feels like punishment. Waiting feels like abandonment. Waiting feels like distance. Yet very often, the delay of God is the workshop of God. Delay is not denial, but it feels like it. Every believer knows, intellectually, that God's delay is not his rejection, but emotionally, spiritually, internally, delay feels like denial. It is the space where your faith feels fragile. It is the stretch where your soul feels thin. It is the moment where the promise God gave you looks incompatible with the reality in front of you, and that tension can feel unbearable. You prayed for healing, but the symptoms persist. You prayed for restoration, but the fracture deepens. You prayed for clarity, but confusion multiplies. You prayed for breakthrough, but doors stay closed. You prayed for strength, but weakness grows. You prayed for provision, but the need intensifies. You prayed for direction, but the silence continues. Everything in you wants to interpret the delay as a no, or worse, as divine disinterest. But God is far too intentional for that. What feels like divine hesitation is often divine. Preparation. The delay is not blocking your miracle. The delay is building you for it. Delay exposes the heart more than the circumstance. When God delays, it is rarely the circumstance he is examining. It is the heart. Delay pulls up what peace pushes down. Hidden fears, unresolved wounds, spiritual immaturity, pride disguised as confidence, impatience disguised as passion, entitlement disguised as expectation, idolatry disguised as hope and silence. The heart speaks. In waiting, the soul reveals itself. Delay exposes whether you love God or love his timing, whether you trust God or trust your plan, whether your hope is in his character or in the outcome you desire. whether your faith is built on belief or on control. Delay does not weaken a believer, it reveals a believer, and what it reveals is often uncomfortable, but always necessary. The faith of those who waited. Every giant of faith in history was shaped through delay. Not one escaped it. Abraham waited decades for a promised son. Joseph waited in prisons and pits before reaching his purpose. Moses waited 40 years in the desert before stepping into destiny. David waited while hunted before he ever received a crown. Hannah waited with tears before holding Samuel. Elijah waited on a quiet whisper after the quake and fire. Mary waited at a cross when the promise looked dead. The disciples waited between crucifixion and resurrection. All creation waits even now for redemption to be complete. Delay is the language of heaven's deeper work. If God allowed all of them to wait, why do we assume He will never require it of us? Delay forces a decision. Will you quit or will you believe? Every delay becomes a crossroads, a spiritual fork in the road. You can walk away in disappointment, numb yourself in distraction, silence your heart with cynicism, cling to control, or continue to believe. Belief during delay is costly. Costly because there is no visible evidence. Costly because you must confront every fear. Costly because you must surrender your timeline. Costly because you must trust a God who feels silent. Costly because you must fight battles no one sees. Costly because faith feels foolish until it's fulfilled. But belief during delay is the birthplace of spiritual power. Anyone can trust God when He moves quickly. Anyone can praise God when answers flow easily. Anyone can believe when blessings are visible. But belief during silence, belief during confusion, belief during heartache, belief during disappointment, belief during discouragement, belief during uncertainty. That is faith in its purest form. Delay trains you for what you prayed for. Some miracles are too heavy to hand to an unstrengthened soul. Some blessings require deeper roots. Some breakthroughs demand greater maturity. Some promises necessitate inner recalibration. You don't train for a marathon the morning of the race. You don't build a skyscraper without laying a deep foundation. You don't sharpen a sword without grinding metal on stone. God's promises are often weighty, and He will never give you something you cannot sustain. Sometimes the delay is not about the miracle, it's about the version of you who must receive it. You are not waiting for the blessing, you are waiting to become the person who can carry it. Delay realigns your vision when answers come quickly. We rush ahead blindly. We chase the blessing and forget the blesser. We cling to outcomes instead of intimacy. We build faith on results instead of relationship. Delay slows you down long enough for God to realign your vision. In delay, He asks, do you want me or what I can give you? Do you seek my heart or just my hand? Does your faith depend on circumstances or on who I am? Delay recalibrates your soul to the truth that God is not a vending machine of miracles. He is the God who desires communion, and sometimes He delays not because He is far, but because He wants to draw you closer. The ache of delay is holy. There is a sacredness in longing that Christians often overlook. The ache itself is holy. The ache makes you pray deeper. The ache makes you seek harder. The ache makes you worship with sincerity. The ache humbles you. The ache softens you. The ache cracks the heart open so light can enter. The ache transforms, waiting from passive suffering into active spiritual formation. Pain is not divine punishment, it is divine invitation. Only those who wait know this intimacy with God. a God who does not remove the ache, but sits with you inside it. The silence of God is not the absence of God. God's delay often feels like God's disappearance. But silence is not abandonment. Silence is instruction. God is often closest when He speaks least. He is often moving most when you feel Him least. He is often working deepest when you see nothing at all. Seeds grow in darkness, roots deepen underground. Foundations are laid beneath the surface. Healing happens beneath the skin. Strength develops beneath the weight. Every unseen process requires darkness. So when God is silent, it may mean He is growing you beneath the surface in ways you cannot yet perceive. The delay is preparing the miracle to arrive at the perfect time. The right answer at the wrong time becomes the wrong answer. The right blessing at the wrong stage becomes a burden. The right miracle at the wrong maturity becomes a mistake. God's timing is not merely correct, it is perfect. He does not just prepare the blessing for you, He prepares you for the blessing. Both must be ready. Both must be aligned. Both must reach fullness. Delay is the synchronizing of heaven's purpose with your capacity. The miracle is already on its way. The timing is what is being perfected. Your faith is most real right before the breakthrough. There is a strange, painful truth about God's timing. The darkest moment of waiting often comes right before the light breaks, right before the miracle. The silence intensifies. Right before the breakthrough, the pressure peaks. Right before the answer, the doubt surges. Right before God moves, heaven feels still. This is not coincidence. This is spiritual pattern. The enemy fights hardest when you are closest. Your flesh struggles most when surrender is near. Your heart feels weakest when your faith is strongest. This is the threshold of belief, the final test before fulfillment. When God delays longest, He often plans to act biggest. When the delay ends, God restores everything the waiting stole. Comes a moment, often gentle, sometimes sudden, when the delay lifts, when the prayer is answered, when the door opens, when the promise manifests, when the burden breaks, when the miracle arrives. And in that moment, God does not merely give you what you waited for, He restores. The joy the waiting drained, the hope the silence thinned, the strength the delay exhausted, the faith the struggle tested, the intimacy that deepened in the pain, the wisdom formed through endurance. God never ends a delay with minimums. He ends it with abundance. What felt like divine hesitation was actually divine orchestration. The heart that still believes after delay is unshakable. Can have faith on day one. Anyone can have faith when the promise is fresh. Anyone can have faith when hope is effortless. But the person who still believes after years of silence, that person possesses a faith hell cannot shake, faith that survived disappointment, faith that endured hidden tears, faith that wrestled with doubts, faith that refused to surrender, faith that outlasted confusion, faith that clung to God when nothing made sense. This faith is not fragile, it is forged. This faith is not shallow, it is deep. This faith is not emotional, it is eternal. Faith proven through delay becomes faith that cannot be destroyed. The final question: when God delays, do you still believe? This question is not asked in accusation, but an invitation. It is God inviting you deeper, inviting you past your fears, inviting you beyond your timelines, inviting you through the silence into a faith that cannot be shaken. Do you still believe? Not in the blessing, but in the bless. Not in the miracle, but in the maker. Not in the timing, but in the one who authors time itself. Delay is not God asking you to wait longer. It is God asking you to trust deeper. Because when the delay ends, and it will end, you will not just receive the promise, you will discover the version of yourself that only waiting could have created. A believer refined, a believer strengthened, a believer grounded, a believer unshakable, a believer who can finally say, even in the delay, I still believe.